Hello, hello. This is Robert Ferguson, your nutritionist, and I'm here for a moment. We call this Fat Loss Tuesday, and I'll be back on Fat Loss Friday. But there's two things I'm going to share with you today that I believe you will find quite interesting. One, I'm going to share with you what studies have demonstrated to be the single food that when people eat it, they gain the most weight. Now, this study goes back to 2011, and of course, you didn't hear much about this study because some of these companies will lobby and position themselves where these studies don't get much mention. But there is a food, and I will share that with you. And then I also want to share with you something about lifestyle, because people will say that they're looking for a lifestyle, but yet they don't embrace or have a lifestyle that supports the outcomes that they've been going after, whether it's losing weight, getting off medications, reversing their illness, and thriving with energy. So I'm going to share that with you, and something's there. And then if you want to contact us, feel free to reach out. We have coaches that can work with you one-on-one, as well as myself. We have a program for you, as well as if you want to become a coach and do what we do. Okay. Well, anyway, if you have not been over to our YouTube channel, please do so. And please like and subscribe and hit the bell so that you are aware anytime I share information. Because again, my goal is to share because I care. That's the only reason why we do this. So let's get to it. Before I get to the food that causes the most weight gain, if you're so kind, please share, tell people about what we're doing. Tell them about Diet Free Life. And also, we have a group that you want to be a part of where we support each other in living the lifestyle. Now, in this study that I am referring to, where the study demonstrates that people who have lost 30 to 300 pounds, not just lost the weight, but have kept the weight off. Let me say that one more time. They lost the weight and they have kept it off. And this study's been ongoing for many years. And I find this to be like the study that everybody should be talking about. Seriously. And I don't mean to use the word should as in judgment, but think about what I just said. They've lost 30 to 300 pounds, and they have kept the weight off for many, many, many years. Now, in the past, in one of our studies, we demonstrated up to 5 years that 40% of diet-free lifers, people who learned the diet-free life methodology, 40% of them will keep the weight off at the 5-year mark. Now, those numbers are amazing because a lot of companies can't say that. Most of them can't even say 10% inside of 5 years. So we have staggering outcomes. However, that doesn't mean that a lot of people don't gain the weight back, because a lot of people do. And as a bonus, I want to just kind of share this with you. I had a client recently reached out to me who I hadn't coached in about 6 months or so. And this client, had gained a little bit of weight back. But the reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because when I started working with her, she had a sister, and they both were being challenged with their type 2 diabetes. Now, the sister decided not to go with me and to learn the Diet Free Life methodology. And she did. Well, we reversed her type 2 diabetes. She got off the medications. She lost like 50 pounds. She's thriving. The flip side, her sister tried and played around with keto and a few other diseases. And I recently heard, and it saddened my heart that she's now on dialysis every day. And her niece just recently lost 2 toes. This is sad. And I see this a lot because when you look up and want to better understand, let's say type 2 diabetes, what you will discover on YouTube as well as through Google are people talking about what causes it and how you can fix it. You don't hear anyone really talking about what happens when you don't fix it, but you got it, right? And with close to 100 million people walking around in the United States that are pre-diabetic and don't even know it, means they're 1 point from becoming a type 2 diabetic. And then no one talks about what happens. See, if you go to the CDC and you do your research, you will discover real quick that people don't die from type 2 diabetes. If you have type 2 diabetes, you're going to die from something else. It's going to be a stroke. It's going to be heart attack. It's going to be cancer. Type 2 diabetes is the precursor to other ways that you're going to end up dying. However, it totally messes with your quality of life. If you find yourself having to go to dialysis 3 times a week and you still don't fix it, well, it's a death sentence. You only have so much time. So I send my prayers, my thoughts to anyone who's dealing with this. But at the same time, I've talked to people, I've coached people who are type 2 diabetic and they're not doing anything about it. Whereas in the last year, I got 14 people who were type 2 diabetic, and today they're not anymore. It's gone. How can you know about that and be a type 2 diabetic and not want to know about that? You know what I mean? So anyway, I send big shout out. I'm not going to mention any names. I feel for this client and her family. It really just saddens my heart. It really does when I hear these kind of stories. Now, let's get to what you probably tuned in for. Well, one, as I was saying, in this ongoing study where people have lost 30 to 300 pounds and kept it off, over 90% of these people all are saying the same thing. And that is the way they ate when they lost the weight is the way they continue to eat. And that's why the weight has not come back. Hear what I just said. This puts a hole in almost everything, because if you're really going to talk about lifestyle, that's all things that we touch in our lives. If you really want to talk about lifestyle, then you establish the habits, and it's like connecting the dots, right? It's like the Ethiopian proverb says that when spider webs unite, you can tie up an elephant. When you connect the dots, you are strong. And what happens is habits form, right? They're like dots. They form this triangle of power. And when you have these habits in place, like these people, you're not going to gain the weight back. Now, if you say, all right, I'm going to just cut out everything and just eat meat all the time. Okay, you could do that. But what we're starting to hear in the industry is that a lot of those people now are weaving in certain fruits and vegetables because they realize that was not wise. You could be optimizing your health by eating certain foods. So my share with you and the take home with this is that you want to establish habits that you can live with. That's why they're called habits. And the structure will put you in a position where you won't gain the weight back. Okay. Now, number 2, in this study, I find this study fascinating. And I'm not even going to mention the author's name because I'm not a fan. But the study was interesting because they wanted to look at all the different foods that people are eating and have been eating more and more of over the years. And what they discovered was there was one food and the way it was cooked that stood out as the number one food that causes the biggest weight gain. Now, I don't even want to say this out loud because I like this food and I will continue to eat this food, even the way it's cooked. However, there are healthier ways to make this food when you can make it at home. But I get it. You go to the park, you go to a football game, you're traveling, and this food gets in that car, and you're like, man, I got to have one, or I got to eat more. It's part of the American culture, and that are deep fried French fries. So the potato, when it's deep fried in vegetable oils, right? Like vegetable oil, canola oil, safflower oil, those kind of oils, these seed oils, causes the biggest weight gain and also causes the biggest or one of the biggest hardships as it pertains to like our health, insulin resistance, not good. So the burger's not the problem. And I've said this for years. The bread's not the problem. The fries. I mean, there's a restaurant I go to where you get air fried French fries and they don't use any oil. They actually use beef tallow or they use butter. And occasionally they'll use something like a peanut oil, something that's more stable when they cook with it. Or they'll use coconut oil, extra virgin coconut oil. So yes, it's the fries and how they're cooked. So the fry is not the problem. The carb is not the problem. We know that carbs are not the problem. They really aren't. A lot of it has to do with what we cook with, or what we eat with the fries, like the bread with the fries adds to the thighs. Okay, that's a problem. But how do you cook the fries? And unfortunately, at most restaurants that you go to, when you get that side of fries, they're going to be cooked in those oils that make it carcinogenic. I mean, we're talking cancer causing oils with these foods. So not only will it cause you to gain weight, but it will also play a role in increasing your likeliness or likelihood to become insulin resistant. And we know that from a metabolic health standpoint, over 80% of Americans are not metabolically fit. We know that from the University of Carolina. That was an amazing study they did a few years ago. It spoke volumes, and guess what? It ain't getting better. It's getting worse. So there you go. So if you're going to eat the fries at home, I would say get yourself buy some peanut oil. You know, we're living at a time right now where people deep fry their turkeys, and it's become common knowledge that if you deep fry a turkey, the healthier oil to use would be peanut oil. It doesn't put out an odor. It's neutral. It's more stable. And if you're going to deep fry, then that's the one that I would recommend. That's a decent oil to go with. It's not too expensive, and it works. I would not do any other oil. I wouldn't even attempt to use avocado oil, because most of the avocado oils on the shelves are adulterated. Not all, but most of them. So you may be thinking you're getting avocado oil, but unfortunately you're getting soybean oil. Okay, well, there you have it. Thank you for listening in, tuning in, catching this. I appreciate you. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to us. But I appreciate you being here. And again, we're going to always share, because 100% we do care.